Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. How's it going, all you minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And today, I'm going to give you an advanced look at the Invincible Iron Man Omnibus Volume 1, the 2023 printing from Marvel Comics. So let's go ahead and take a look together. Now, before getting started, I do want to thank David Gabriel and the folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on August 29th or 30th, depending on where you get your books. What we're looking at here is the classic Jack Kirby cover to Tales of Suspense number 39, the introduction of Iron Man, and this is the direct market cover. On the left-hand side is your standard edition cover that's going to be available everywhere, and that one is drawn by Gerald Perel. And the direct market cover is only available at your local comic book shop or places online like cheapgraphicnovels.com, waltzcomicshop.com, readscomics.com, comicsbugle.com, Dying Breed Collectors, Organic Price Books and Stock Trades, and Tales of Wonder and places like that. And if you notice, the spines are different. Let's shift the focus back to this. I love this cover. Now, when this originally came out, there were 3 covers. This was originally printed in 2008. There was the movie cover, there was the Adi Granov cover, which was a take on this, which, honestly, I love that cover too. That's the one that I did end up getting. But I got rid of that a long time ago. But I've always been a fan of this one because this is during the time when Tales of Suspense was shifting over to the superhero genre because that was just kicking butt everywhere. But it's who or what is the newest, most breathtaking, most sensational superhero of all? Iron Man. He lives, he walks, he conquers. And it's a really cool front page ad almost, because it's right here from the talented bullpen where the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Thor, and your other favorite superheroes were born. So they were already cashing in on the idea of making this sci-fi anthology magazine into a superhero magazine, and this is where Iron Man first started. Looking at the spine, taking a closer look here, Marvel Omnibus, Invincible Iron Man, Lee, Heck, and Colan. And there's the original Iron Man armor that only appears one time. Volume 1, the Mark 1, and then the covers of the stories collected in here. Now, underneath the dust jacket, actually, let's look at the flaps here. You have a little bit about some of the first appearances here. That's really cool. The Golden Avenger's first adventures. And then a little bit about the creators over here with the classic redesign armor by Steve Ditko. You have the logo, Invincible Iron Man Omnibus. And there you have the Invincible Iron Man. Lee, Heck, and Colan. And there he is. What? Okay, that's actually surprising because most of the time they're putting the logo here. Like A for Avengers or the X for X-Men. I guess maybe the reactor would have been something here, but no, they decided to put a whole picture of Iron Man. All right, we're going to crack this book open. I don't have my original one to compare it with, but we're going to crack this book open, look at the artwork, and talk about these classic stories that made up this popular character in the MCU. All right, so let's go ahead and crack this book open. You have some black end sheets right there. The Invincible Iron Man Omnibus, Volume 1, what it collects, Stan Lee, Don Heck, and Gene Colan. There he is, the Golden Avenger. And then, of course, the picture right here from Tales of Suspense 39 by Jack Kirby. A little bit of the creators here. And I say a little bit because the colorists, unfortunately, are uncredited as they were during this particular time. But the letterers are there, which is really cool. But you have pencilers like Don Heck and Jack Kirby, G. Colan, Steve Ditko, and then you have Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, Don Rico. And the table of contents right here with 3 different introductions, 2 by Stan Lee. And those were from the original Marvel Masterworks. So what they used to do, and sometimes they still do it, they put like 3 Marvel Masterworks into one omnibus. Sometimes, in the case of like Amazing Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 1, they put a little more than just 3. It's an awesome picture by Gene Colan. Old Shell Head by Stan Lee. So this introduction is talking about the character of Iron Man and why he was popular amongst the ladies, which is very interesting. Like, he talks about why they would get more female fan letters than men writing into Iron Man. He had a hypothesis there about why. Like, perhaps it was because they felt sorry for him, and it's like the maternal side. They want to take care of Tony because of his heart. Whatever the reason was, I don't know, but then again, it is Stan Lee. Iron Man is born, so here we go. Jack Kirby, of course, designing the iron armor, but really Don Heck designing pretty much everything else because he's the artist in the first book. You have Stan Lee writing the story with the script by his brother Larry Lieber. All right, so Iron Man. Somewhere out in the jungles of Vietnam, a young man steps on a landmine and gets mortally wounded. I guess not really mortally, but this shrapnel is going into his heart. So this tells you a little bit about the character of Tony Stark, who he is. He's a millionaire playboy. He builds weapons of mass destruction for this war that's going on, or many wars, and that's what his whole Stark family has done. He does end up becoming the prisoner of war here because, like I said, stepping on this particular mine mortally wounds him, and he is held against his will to create weapons. And with the help of Professor Yinsen, he creates something that keeps this shrapnel from going into his heart and killing him, and making an iron armor out of it. So inside of this iron armor is Tony Stark, and this is how he frees himself. This is probably familiar to a lot of people. I mean, outside of, the particular war that they were fighting, this is very similar to the origin of Iron Man from the comic book, or from the movie, from the MCU movie. But this introduces us to the character of Tony Stark. This is where Iron Man is born, this dramatic origin. And it's taken almost panel for panel for the introduction of the character, played by Robert Downey Jr. in the movies. But this is where he was born. And it is the first time we saw him in an armor. Now, like I was saying a little bit earlier, this magazine, The Tales of Suspense, was mostly like a sci-fi comic book anthology, like where you got 8 pages, usually about 4 stories. This particular one, though, was 13 pages long, introducing us to the character of Iron Man. Now, the next time you see him is in issue number 40. This time around, he's already tweaking up the iron armor. He takes an idea from a lady friend and decides, you know what? I think I'm going to make this a knight in shining armor type of thing, so I'm just going to spray paint it gold. So this is where he fights Gargantuous. Then we have the Stronghold of Doctor Strange. This is pretty much Iron Man meets the Doctor Strange, not Stephen Strange, the master of the mystic arts. This guy is just your maniacal villain with the secret island fortress. That's it. There is a difference in the two characters. This is Trapped by the Red Barbarian. So yeah, not really that many memorable villains right now during this particular time, but we are about to see some in the upcoming pages here. This also introduces us to the characters of Happy Hogan and Pepper Potts, who also play a big part to this day in Tony Stark's life. This is the Kala, I think, the Queen of the Netherworld storyline right here. Then you have the Mad Pharaoh. Again, not really memorable characters until you get, I think the one that keeps coming back, to this day at least, is this guy right here, and that is Jack Frost. And then we also have the Melter, because the Melter is still a big part of Iron Man's life. And then you have, what is his name? The Puppet Man? Not the Puppet Master, the Doll Man? Okay. Was that it? Mr. Doll, that's him. And this is where Steve Ditko comes in and designs a new costume for Iron Man. So far he's only had 2, right? Like he's had the classic Mark 1, the Mark 2, and then Steve Ditko steps in as an artist for these next 2 issues and designs a new costume for him to defeat Mr. Doll of all people. And he makes voodoo dolls and threatens to maim you if you don't give him money. So what he does is, I'll just make a new costume. That's how I'll beat this villain. This also has the X-Men in it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Angel, and then the rest of the X-Men. It's really cool to see just Steve Ditko draw this particular issue. Then the next part is the Mandarin's first appearance. Now, this, of course, being the villain that plays a big part in the movies and later on, still to this day, in the comics. And it's really interesting where the idea originated from. And Stan Lee just pretty much says, look, I was a fan of comics growing up. And I loved characters like Fu Manchu, and that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted this Asian villain. And that's where the Mandarin and the 10 Rings came from. And of course, artwork by Don Heck. Now, Don Heck is actually credited as the co-creator of Iron Man because he really put a lot of his heart and soul into the character. Like I said, Jack Kirby designed the particular Mark 1, but it was Don Heck that did the internal artwork. Sometimes it was artwork by Jack Kirby or Steve Ditko and different inkers like Don Heck. But it's really cool that he gets co-credit for creating Iron Man, because without him, we wouldn't have like that Howard Hughes inspiration that Stan Lee wanted for the character of Tony Stark. So we have another introduction here. There's the first appearance of the Scarecrow. Very similar to the Scarecrow in the Distinguished Competition. And now we have the first appearance of Natasha Romanoff. This young lady that will become the Black Widow, looking a lot different, more so than her other appearances later on in this very same book. We have the return of the Mandarin right here, so this is pretty much the rematch with the Mandarin. Now Pepper Potts and Happy Hogan he's trying to keep a secret identity from them. And by now, Don Heck is the main artist on the book. We don't have rotating artists anymore. This is actually a two-parter. We get a three-parter in here with the title. What's going on there, Pepper Potts? Virginia Pepper Potts, that's right. Oh, I love this stuff. This goes underneath the armor. What makes him tick? Some of his villains right here. The Crimson Dynamo. I forgot to mention that guy. Black Widow. And the introduction of the Uncanny Unicorn, who's still around. But the bigger character appears, I believe, in the next issue. I just read these this past month. And that is the character of Hawkeye. Yeah, right here, issue 57. So we have Black Widow and Hawkeye. And they end up teaming up together. So that whole relationship started all the way back in Tales of Suspense. Now, he doesn't have his own ongoing magazine. This is the fight with Captain America, because Stan Lee loved when heroes fought for absolutely no reason. Misunderstandings, bringing characters together to knuckle up and just fight. And yeah, he's always been a big fan of that. And I think a lot of that went into the inspiration of things like Civil War. This is the return of the Mandarin in the next issue, but it's really cool to see him fight Captain America. Yeah, the return of Captain America, and now Captain America sharing the magazine Tales of Suspense with Shellhead here, Tony Stark. And I believe it's a two-parter with, the team up with Hawkeye and Black Widow. Mandarin coming back for revenge. Now, what's really cool about this collection is the letter pages are here, but it's only the letter pages that are collected talking about the character of Iron Man and Tony Stark. You didn't see the earlier collected letters that were mainly talking about the previous issues before Tales of Suspense number 39. So it's only if it's focusing on the character of Iron Man or Tony Stark or their adventures. This introduces us to the Phantom, more Black Widow now with her more recognizable outfit that she appears later on in the pages of the Avengers. And then we get this really cool story right here with the original the second, the Mark II, and the new Iron Man armor. Now, you've probably noticed that it has been changing a little bit. The armor has been changing. He's tweaking it up just a little bit. This is the fight with Atuma. But not to the extent that like he changes it up so often in newer comics. Like, it's all the time he's changing it up. But during this particular time, it just changes it from time to time. Then we get the third introduction. This time around, the introduction is by Tom Field, who was a journalist that wrote The Art and Life of Gene Colan, published by Tomorrow's. But he does this introduction talking about the character of Iron Man and talking a little bit about Gene Colan and just how I really liked what he said about him. He calls it the painting with a pencil style. And that's the best way to describe Gene Colan's artwork. It is so spectacular. It is so different. And I've just learned to just appreciate him so much more the older I get. So we do see the last of Don Heck's artwork here to make way for the phenomenal Gene Colan. Now, what's interesting is he's not known as Gene Colan during this particular time. Oh, I think this is when he leaves. This is the 3-part Titanium Man introduction. And then Don Heck ends up leaving with the final issue there. And we get a new artist. Now, I think I've shared this before because I didn't know about this until I was reading the Namor Epic Collection. But this is Adam Austin. And it's Gene Colan. Because when I was reading Namor, I'm like, this guy's art is a straight ripoff of Gene Colan. Which is a good thing because I really like Gene Colan. But no, it was Gene Colan. It was just that he was working for the Distinguished Competition. He had a contract with them, but he still wanted to do art for Marvel Comics. So that's why he went by Adam Austin for a while. Yeah, Adam Austin. Because it's the same thing that happened in the pages of the Namor Epic Collection. But, I mean, just some outstanding splash pages and painting by pencil. I love that description of his art. That is the best way to describe it. That is was that the Freak? Ultimo. Now, what's collected in here? I haven't talked about that. This collects Tales of Suspense 39 to 83. Now, that may seem like a lot of books, but because most of these are 13 to 15 pages stories, because he was sharing a magazine with Captain America, you get a lot more. Like this one right here is 12 pages. So keep that in mind. This also collects Tales to Astonish 82, so it's the big fight with Namor the Submariner. There we go. It's a Tales of Suspense. Big fan of that cover right there. It's so awesome. And again, Gene Colan's beautiful artwork right here. And then the Tales to Astonish where it continued. This one, though, is written by Roy Thomas. And then Gene Colan drawing it. Or painting it by pencil, rather. Just some phenomenal artwork in here. You know, Iron Man was one of these characters that I got to know not through comics, but in Peru in the early 80s, like 1981, 1982, we started getting a lot of the Marvel cartoons, the ones that they took the comic strips. As a matter of fact, some of the pictures here by Steve Ditko, Don Heck, and Gene Colan were used in the cartoon. And that's where I got to know this particular character. I didn't get to know him into the comics until much later. But there was the Hulk show, there was the Thor show, and then, of course, Spider-Man. But Iron Man it was really cool just to see a guy driving around in a nice fancy car, and he also happens to be inside of this armor, because one of my favorite shows growing up was always Ultra 7. So it was really cool and different than all the other superheroes that were coming out at the time. All right, this is the extras right here. You have a house ad, and again, some letter pages. When the Golden Avenger was gray, this is from the Son of Origins of Marvel Comics, How Communism Changed My Life for the Better by Bob Layton introduction there. And this is another introduction talking about Don Heck's superhero art. Now, this particular printing has 752 pages. It's got just a couple more pages than the original printing, and I'll show what it is here in a little bit. But here we have some original artwork by Don Heck. We have some covers. This is the Curious Oddities from Tales of Suspense production photostat with the captions, issue number 42. It is unknown if this piece reflects a true early version of issue 41 cover or if it's just a production mistake. There's the Mandarin and the Mr. Doll. Original art again by Don Heck. Some of it inked by Mike Esposito. There's one issue that's inked by Wally Wood. There it is, Wallace Wood. Jack Abel. Just a lot of talent. And the Marvel Collector's items right here. These are the old reprints before collected editions. This is what people used to get reprinted comics on. Marvel Superheroes, the Essential Iron Man. Yeah, I don't. Please correct me if I'm wrong because I don't have my copy anymore. I got rid of it a long time ago. But it's a Mary Severin piece right there. But I don't remember it having this right here. Well, maybe it did have the Marvel Masterworks stuff. I don't remember if it had this, the Invincible Iron Man Volume 1. This is the first printing Omnibus, the movie, and then the new cover. So I think these pages are new that are not in the original one. Again, the book has 752 pages. So let's take a look at this binding. So it is sewn binding, printed at the iMac printer. Not much of an eye there, but I mean, honestly, for a Silver Age book, it's not like there were a lot of spread pages at the time. And it lays over really nice, and lays over like this towards the middle of the book. And here, let's go back here towards the back of the book. Beautiful, beautiful splash pages. As far as the paper stock, it is thinner than my original printing. I can guarantee you that. But I mean, that was from 2008. So there is some, there's some bleed through right there from the opposite page, especially if it's a light color or if it's just whites. But yeah, you can see some of the frames from the opposite page show up through here. But that's it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. Let me know in the comments down below if you missed out on it the first time around and you're going to pick it up, which cover you're going to get if you're picking it up, if you're hoping that they'll continue these classic Silver Age stories of Iron Man and get a volume 3 of an omnibus sometime. Or what era or what stories would you love to see collected of Iron Man in omnibus format? And that's it for me. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Smash that like button on the way out. Check out our Spread Shop and Patreon. Amazing ways to support the channel if you can do so. Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.